Hello, my name's Niranjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast. Learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Today is episode number 23 in our new series where we hear from men like Gonzala, who was born and raised in Argentina, now based in Norway, as a mobility coach and yoga instructor, amongst many other roles. His ultimate goal is to leave the world a better place than what he found it in. His drive and passion to break curses that no longer serve him and to help the younger generation to understand and channel themselves better. Gonzala is currently working on several projects to bring light consciousness to those people and places yet to be lit. Hello and welcome to Gonza. Thank you so much for being available and being courageous enough to share some of your journey with us today on the podcast. So, hello and welcome.
Hello, Naranjan. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to share a little bit of my lifestyle, of my worldview, and how I embody my philosophy.
Absolutely. And I'm more curious about some of the crafts that you have garnered over the years, because I know that you have delved into so many different areas from meditation to yoga. And now with this wonderful year of 2020, it's embodied so much more I can only imagine for you. So what is it do you feel, having been through the road of philosophy, nutrition, yoga, meditation, and all the external entities that happen in our lives, do you believe that that defines you in some way, in some form?
That's a very good question. And I think there are many different angles to reply to that because I think that the combination of the things that I do with my time and that I do with my life and that I'm aware of is just a way to set the grounds for joy and stillness to blossom. Immanuel Kant put it in a wonderful way. Rather than asking yourself, why aren't you happy? Ask yourself, are my actions worthy of someone who's happy? So I feel that health, joy, spirituality, a healthy psyche, they're all arrows pointing towards the same direction. And it's not just one thing that we need to do. We need to understand ourselves as a whole so we can understand our needs, so we can have a direction in our actions. What do I mean by this? There is no point in drinking kombucha if you're not going to put in time in meditating, if you're not going to get good sleep, if you're not going to eat whole foods, which is what your body needs for purpose rather than for pleasure, if you're not feeding yourself with with the right information, separate some time to read, separate some time to break a sweat, not only to look good, but to feel good. So our body can segregate the right hormones for us to feel well. That goes hand by hand with good sleep, that goes hand by hand with good nutrition, as I described. And I think that what brings it all together, what the silver lining between all this, is our attitude towards the people around us. I feel that the best of us have had the luck to realize that the most authentic way to live for ourselves is to live for the others. So I think it came with the realization that wasn't just one thing what I needed in my life, and that I wasn't really lacking anything. If anything, as Bruce Lee said it, hack away to the unessentials. It's not the daily increase, but the daily decrease. So, if anything, it's a formula but it's a personal formula for each one of us. Although
Mhm.
we're all humans and we all share um, several characteristics and needs, I think it all starts with taking a break, taking a deep breath, focusing in your surrounding, focusing in your immediate reality, trying to bypass this function that is inherent to us all, in which somehow we're more focused about the past and the future. So we can, for the first time, get to know ourselves. And I don't mean our labels that surrounds us. It's not what defines us. It's not my lifestyle. What defines me, it's not really anything that defines me, because what I really am in depth is not something that can be described by combinations of sounds, like it's the language that we're using now to communicate. So I'm trying to point out to something way deeper. And that's why in the Oracle it says, know thyself, know yourself.
Mhm.
It's not the fact that I am Gonzalo, I am a man, I am a yoga instructor, I am this, that. The fact is that I am, and the realization that I am comes with unlimited power. And it's the same power that is making our heartbeat right now, that is making the seasons change, and that it has created all the forms that we see in the universe. So it all starts from within. And I feel that once we have an understanding of that, and I don't mean a psychological understanding, we need to understand this in a deeper level within, so our consciousness can follow that. When we understand that, things start falling into line. We tend to overcomplicate life, right? All the what ifs. But in reality, if we take a deep breath and we look around, we realize that quite simple life that we're living, that it's us and it's our mind and it's our dysfunction that overcomplicates it.
Mhm. That's a beautiful response, a very in-depth one. And I love how you brought all the elements together of really defining that it isn't just one component that makes us who we are. There are
Right,
so many different elements that create us, but I truly feel the key thing there is going beyond the physical form of what we see in our external entities that we have, from
right,
the food that we eat, the activities that we do, the conversations we have with others. But the true insight I feel is the conversation we have with ourselves, bypassing the subconscious mind.
right,
So
right,
once we
right,
can bypass that piece, then we can come together and be in unison with something far greater than we can actually think with our conscious mind. And I think that's what you have been able to do, from what I can capture as we connected with your wonderful Instagram pictures and followings and insights and share. I could really sense it and feel it, receive that from you, which is what provoked this interview and conversation.
right.
So thank you for doing that. I want to say, so you feel that an element of that is what defines who you are, and coupled with that, your life calling. Why is it you're here?
That's a wonderful question. And I feel that the why is the lie. I feel that the why is a question that takes a lot from us. And I will explain you why. If you were to be right now caught up in a battle camp and you get an arrow to your knee, your first reaction will not be to look around and start trying to figure out why it happened, who threw the arrow. You have a far more immediate situation to deal with, not to call it a problem, which is the arrow in your knee. So I feel that in the same regard that we use a lot of time to try to figure out why things happen, we're missing out the things that we really should be doing. Maybe there is not a point to all this. Maybe the whole point of it is just experience and experiencing it itself. Because I have wondered why, and I have realized that that question has taken so much time and energy from me and has deprived me from experiencing so much. And it's funny because I love, although I love existentialism, and they say that when you understand the why, the how reveals itself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in my personal case, the why has often taken so much energy from me, and I have not realized that maybe this is all just meant to be, and we're not meant to question it. Maybe the question is, where are we coming from? Where are we going? Why is this happening? It's just a response to our evolutionary stage that we just went through. If we would understand the causes of things, we could predict the future in that regard, not be hunted by predators in the middle of the night when we're living in caves. And I feel it's about this new paradigm in life where we're going through, where we need to peel off of questions that no longer serve us, of defense mechanisms like fear that no longer serve us. Maybe it's about time we stop understanding so much everything, or trying to understand so much everything, and start experiencing and start enjoying the beautiful creation that we're a part of. Because they say that heaven and hell are here on earth, and I couldn't agree more with that. It depends on what you do to it. It depends on what you do with it, what you're going to experience. I
Mm-hmm.
could not picture a better paradise than the experiences that I have in my life,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's in a shamanic retreat, whether it's after a strong hot yoga class, whether it's after a good workout or a good acro yoga session with my girlfriend. You know, it's all these different things that often reason has gotten on the way for me to enjoy them purely as they're meant to be enjoyed. And I love that you stepped on the subconscious, and I'm going to bring Young now,
Mm-hmm.
which is someone I admire a lot, and it's someone that has given me a lot of positive cues. And all this came as a response of uh, accepting my subconscious as much as we can, because we're not aware of much of it, but embracing the monster that we are. And that can be very open for interpretation. But if you understand your capability to destroy, and if you embrace that, then you bring morality into the equation. Because if you are not doing any harm because you can't, you're not good, you're just harmless. Only when you embrace and you understand your capability for violence, for destruction, and you choose not to do them or use them, that's when morality comes in. We need evil, we need the subconscious, we need intrusive thoughts. They give us the contrast. So I not only embrace that, but I'm very grateful for all the darkness in my life, for all the darkness in my social conditioning and programming, because thanks to that are the obstacles that I've used to step on to keep on going further and higher.
Mm-hmm.
So so yeah, summing up a little bit, that's what I meant when I said embrace the monster that you are, embrace your dark side, because it is a part of you. And as Young said, the tree reaches up to the heavens, but it has its roots on hell.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We yeah, it's deep, and it can be a bit shocking and hard to accept that we are capable of so many things, and we have all these thoughts, whether they are in the oversoul, like Terence McKenna calls it, or the collective subconscious. They're
Mm-hmm.
there, and there's real, and they're real. And we were a very violent race, and thanks to that we thrived. Thanks with that we managed to detect danger. Our ancestors did that. That's why fear rules us so much. Still, they say that that was the modern emotion, that all the emotions derive from that. And I would not be surprised that we as mammals had to develop a new way to perceive our surrounding, which our five senses weren't enough. So we had to start we had to begin being afraid of certain things so we could survive. Because in the end, that's what we are, survivors. And I think that huge part of the uncertainty that we're living, the anxiety and the depression that we are suffering as a whole. It's because many of the challenges have been overcome, but the hardware, the body, the emotions, they haven't been updated. And that's why we are stepping so hard on spirituality. You can call it spirituality, you can call it mental health, but as I said, they're all arrows pointing towards the same direction. We are fighting a war. There are many who said that World War III, it's spiritual. And we are fighting a very tough war. And when we look back in a few hundred years, we're going to understand the transition that we're going through. It's not easy, but it's necessary. And as much as it's not easy, it's much harder not to do this work because the world has changed and we haven't yet. And this is why
Mm-hmm.
we're in discordancy with it and we feel all this pain and all this resistance.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we need to make a change. As
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Peterson says with the lobsters, what if you were to give an antidepressant when it starts feeling uncomfortable inside of its shell? It will never go through the challenge of having to leave its home to find a comfortable one to keep on growing. So I am grateful for all the struggle. I am grateful for all the darkness because we need it to grow. It could be no light without darkness, and the other way
Mm-hmm.
around.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There's so many things there that you touched on that I kind of want to unpack.
Let's
Um,
go.
the understanding. So you talked about the why is a lie. And then you
Mm,
talked about the fear being a modern emotion or a new integration of who we are as human beings. And then the aspect of having less understanding is somewhat possibly a good thing.
right.
And because then you can just enjoy life, right?
And be right.
And be. But I want to say that's with the premise of somebody coming with the understanding of where you're at.
Right.
Because if we have people who are just living their day-to-day lives, absorbed in gossip and media and news and all the other low frequency emotions and energies of the world that's presented to us in this beautiful playground of Gaia,
Right.
then doing less is probably not as advantageous for their growth in their soul's evolution. But
Right.
yet, coming from a greater understanding and greater aspect of there is more, and I understand all these other facets and all these other elements that are available to us of who we are as human beings, like we talked about earlier. We are more than just water. We're more than just feeding machines and exercise
Hmm.
machines and interaction engagements. We're more than that. So having all those other elements in our back pocket or in our understanding truly then encompasses us and allows us to be in that space of, okay, I can choose to care less about that scenario, choose to care less about that opinion and judgment that somebody else has. Then you can have that choice. But in all elements of everything that you've said, and even the element of subconscious mind of Carl Jung, which is a whole nother conversation I think that we've got to have, is there is such a huge element of free will.
Right.
This free will, we have a choice. So wherever the conscious mind or the subconscious mind is translated and downloaded to us, we have a choice of, do I want to drink kombucha or do I want to drink tequila? It's
Right.
entirely up to you. We have that choice. And it's the same way of how we want to navigate our life moving forward, right?
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
but in terms of the emotional piece of what you emphasized, I feel it's truly an element of polarity that we need on this third dimensional realm, which is
Right.
what we are now coming out of.
And as we grow up on this tree, as you defined it, as we climb that, even I could say Jacob's ladder, as we
Mm-hmm.
climb it, then the duality that's needed in this space no longer exists.
Right.
So all those darker emotions are not even on our frequency. They just don't, they're not relevant to us.
Right. 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 It's funny that you mentioned the power of will. I just finished a book by Ryan Holiday. I highly recommend it. It's called "The Obstacle Is the Way,"
Mm-hmm.
and he describes will as the only thing that you can never run out of, and it will be entirely on your control.
Absolutely.
It's a book based on Stoicism. Um, Real quick, it's an old philosophy current that began with Marcus Aurelius. Well, at least he made it more popular. I believe it began with Seneca, and they're wonderful in my the way that I see it. It's the way that Buddhism was born in the West, because
Mm-hmm.
they are pointing out so many things that Buddhist religion points out to. Although I'm not Buddhist, there are a lot of guidelines that they have laid in front of me that has really helped me find myself. And yeah, the way that they describe the present moment, the way that they go on about our emotions, our hurtful emotions specifically, and they're based on what can you control and what can you not control. That's a dichotomy of control, how to recognize it, what to do if you can do something about something, and how to handle not to. And they said that regardless the situation you have in front, you will always be in full control of your will.
Absolutely. So,
And for someone who is beginning to take these steps, it's funny because there's nothing really that you can do but suffer. And suffering in that regard will help you, will push you to make a move from where you are. Because there is this universal law and many karmic laws built on top of this. You will have the same lesson over and over, and until you don't overcome it, you're going to keep on experiencing the same situation. And that is exactly what suffering does with us. Okay, now it's
mm-hmm.
about time. Now I've had enough. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's about time that I do something different, that I try
Mm-hmm.
something different.
That's right.
Maybe hiding in my room and crying for days hasn't helped. How about I try to understand the situation in a different way? Just to put it in a very simple way. But Eckhart Tolle says when you cannot stop doing something,
That's right.
carry on doing it in the same direction, go on a straight line, because
Yeah.
who you really are is going to reject that sooner than later. And there's
Mm-hmm.
no better service that you can do to yourself. You cannot really fear. It's like, go do it fully. Whether you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to quit smoking, all right, smoke 20
Mm-hmm.
cigarettes in a row so you
Mm-hmm.
realize how disgusting that really is. I'm
That's
trying to
right.
offend anyone. If someone chooses to smoke, it's perfectly fine.
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
Absolutely. But just to give a silly example, that's something I experienced with a friend actually. He won't be able to quit smoking, and that actually really helped him. And the fact of try to be aware as you're doing it. Don't put your eyes
Ab-
to the side. Focus in it.
Absolutely.
Try to mark it. Try to
Yeah.
make a good note of what
Yeah.
you're experiencing.
Do it fully with full intention and full conviction.
Right. So the
Um,
real you realizes it. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, with all that said, and as you just relish, I want to say, in each moment by living your life, what do you feel your intentions are um, with the crafts that you have garnered throughout the years and chosen to really polish and define and own as attributes of who you are?
It's a wonderful question. After I've experienced the things that I've experienced through the things that I've done, I came to the realization that there is no way I want to keep this for myself. I want every single fellow human around me that has any type of contact with me to join on this boat. We could say that this paradoxically, it's one of the most selfish things that I could do because I want this for myself. I want to live in a world where people has the insights that I've had, and it's way beyond a point of view. It's way beyond a philosophy or an idea. It's the same inherent human values that are within us that are blocked by mental conditioning, by social programming. So help people dissolve all these barriers that they've created against love. That's why I teach yoga. That's why I work in a kindergarten. That's why I often coach people in personal situations to deal with. I don't like calling them problems. They're
Hmm.
opportunities to grow, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it is about that. There's no way I can keep all this just for myself. I want to live in a world where people is empathic, where people has a compassionate attitude towards the other. Because I found that there's no better way to be happy than to share, than to live for the others, than to give. Maybe boxers were right after all. We're happier giving than receiving.
Right.
So yeah,
I,
that's what I want with my craft. That's what I want with my craft. To people to it's not about a feeling, it's not about a thought. It goes with my entire self. It transcends my thoughts and emotions. Those are two
hmm.
very useful tools, but I'm talking about something way deeper here.
Hmm.
And that's within all us. To whoever
Absolutely.
is listening to this, that same light, it's shining within you if these words resonate with you. That is the same light that you have built barriers against, and you need to dissolve them. Every
Yeah.
single barrier that you build to stop love flowing through you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just an
Fear based.
opportunity. It's just an
Right,
opportunity to look at what that challenge is, because there's so much more wisdom, there's so much more joy, there's so much more love that is available to us. And I know for anybody who's kind of on this path, it seems like such a cliche
hmm,
of saying that, there's so much more on the other side. You just got to cross the bridge.
right,
Um, but from my perspective and people that I've connected with, it really is. It really is. It's just like me saying, as you would probably relate to your students in kindergarten. But if you
hmm,
learn this, this, and this, then you can get to college, then you can get to
right,
university. But you have
right,
to go through this process.
right,
That's
right,
what that's what life is. This is what our life on this planet truly is. We have to go through the gradations of
absolutely.
learning what we need as skills to cope through life, and then what is it that we can drop as we've released and healed that hurt.
Right, 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 absolutely. And it's important what you mentioned, um, because I feel that we have a huge responsibility. We are driving a very complex machine, which is our body. We have emotions, we have thoughts, um, and no one ever taught us the very basics of our own architecture. We spent time understanding math, which is very useful. I'm not trying to take credit from anything in the educational system, but I think it's highly outdated. And the reason for that is because the past generations didn't know better. They
Yeah,
did the best with what they had. But
absolutely.
we need to teach our children to recognize their own emotions,
That's right.
help them feel safe, because I feel there's no point to lay all these cues and tips and have a strict regime for them to behave in certain way if they don't understand why they're doing it. Then we're part of the problem. We are helping the new generations disconnect from themselves. Okay,
Mm.
I know that I need to behave this and this and this way, but I don't know
Mm.
why. And that's the
Mm.
worst disservice that we can do to someone, because I feel that if you help them connect with themselves and their very inherent human nature. All these values that we're trying to give are going to flourish because these values are the very same that they have within in the same way as us.
That's right.
I don't know who said that education is an admirable thing, but nothing worth knowing can be taught. As Socrates did,
Mm-hmm.
believing that the truth was inside each one of us. That's why, through rhetorical, based on questions, he will make you realize, he will help you find the truth within yourself. He will not give you any concept. The reason
Mm-hmm.
for that is because his mom was working as a nurse, helping ladies give birth. It's like, hold on, there is the same inside each one of us. My job is to help them find them within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I feel. And it's a much harder thing to do than just to explain a few concepts on a psychological and mental level. It's like,
Yeah.
can you find that within you? Can you let it shine within you?
Yeah.
And I feel that's the responsibility that we have either with my yoga students or with my students at the kindergarten. Feel
Mm-hmm.
safe, love yourself, understand yourself, so you can understand who you really are and who you really aren't.
And absolutely, absolutely. And really, I feel now, if not more so than ever, is such an opportune time for us to create a safe space,
Right.
create a space so they as in even adults who are tapping into that space of something is different, something is off, because the vibrational energy that we live on this planet is increasing and the change that is happening.
Right.
And because everything is energy, thanks to Einstein,
Yeah.
and we're all vibrating at a different energy. And we know that from Dr. Emoto's work, right? We're
Yeah.
70-80% water. So that has such an impact on us. And then the vibration and the frequency is all changing. And for us to create a safe place, us who are aware, us who are, I want to say, way showers, light workers,
Hmm.
who are individuals to create a space to make it okay for them to look within and not be happy with what they see.
Right. 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 That's beautifully said. I think we all have met a lot of people with an excellent education that they know very well how to behave, to put it somehow, yet
Yeah,
they're not happy.
yeah, yeah,
And they believe that they ought to be strict. So the younger generations turn out to be like them just fine. But the fact that they fail to see how important is to make a child feel safe, to let all these attributes flourish, it's one of the worst disservice that we
yeah,
can do. So yeah, I
yeah.
couldn't agree more. Safety,
It
safety.
is.
So
Yeah.
so who really are can blossom.
Absolutely. And it's going inwards. Like you said, we can get all the accolades, we can remove all the labels that we talked about earlier in the conversation and remove all those, but it's tapping into something that is so deep within your heart, nowhere else. It's within your breath, it's within your heart that you can't even translate it. And
Right,
that's where the magic is. It's not in the external world. And knowing that each and every one of us has that space.
right, right. I couldn't
So,
agree more. Beautiful.
all these beautiful awarenesses, all this wonderful knowledge from the external world to the internal world. Now what? Where do you go from here?
Very good question. Um, if anything, try to peel off that goal-driven mindset that I have inherited. It.
Mm.
Now what? Now everything. Now this. Now life. Now live. Now enjoy. Now experience. You paid your dues. You did it. You made it all the way here. This is the prize. This is not a means to an end. This is your final destination, the eternal present. This is it. Don't let the expectation get caught up and take your joy away from you. Learn to take a seat, take a deep breath, and be grateful for just being aware, for being self-aware. Be grateful for seeing birds fly. Be grateful for kissing your lover. Be grateful for everything that you're experiencing, because we are surrounded by two eternities,
Mhm.
the past and the future. And this is nothing but the lifespan of a meteor
That's right.
crossing the sky when we're gazing outside. This is as short as that. We're not really going anywhere. This is it. This is the destination. Now unpack and enjoy it. Trust and let go.
I love that. Trust and let go. I like it. I like it.
Beautiful.
In its time, it's so timely for us to be able to do that. So, Gonzo, I sincerely appreciate and I'm very grateful for all the time and energy and wisdom that you have shared in our conversation together. Thank you so much for taking
Thank you,
time.
Naranjan. Thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure. And I thank you for what you're doing, because we're both on the same side, fighting the good fight.
Absolutely.
I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.